Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to this community webinar. Just to introduce myself, I am Sarah Lamont, the Digital Community Manager for Imperva. We have with us James Mall, Director of Global Business Development from Redwolf Security, and Alex Bakshtein, from the Principal Security Architect from Imperva. James has been with Redwolf Security for 3 years and has helped many larger enterprises improve their security by implementing continuous controls validation, vigorous cybersecurity testing. As a seasoned veteran, he brings over 30 years of experience in IT, and he has been a speaker at RSA, ISSA, IBM, and numerous other conferences. So thank you for joining us, James.
Thanks for having me.
We also have Alex. Alex is a Principal Security Architect within Imperva's SE team. Alex has over 15 years of experience in network, application, data, OT, and endpoint security. In various technical roles, Alex has been featured as a speaker and a moderator in multiple conferences across North America and Canada. So welcome to you both. And without any further delay, I will hand over to Alex to get started.
Thank you. Well, this is when we used to have conferences. Remember those?
We do. We miss them.
So welcome to this community webinar. This is our agenda for today. We're going to speak maybe 15 minutes to kind of give you an overview about the threat landscape and the Imperva DDoS mitigation. And we're probably going to be about 20 minutes demonstrating a live DDoS attack and Imperva mitigation. And we're going to leave probably 10 minutes for questions and answers that you can present to Redwolf and Imperva. So before we begin, we thought it's going to be, it's going to be fun to get to know who we have in the audience. So we prepared a few questions just so we could know you a little bit better. Consider this a speed multi-vector dating. And we're going to populate a few questions here. And I think we just started now. So, yeah, here is a poll in progress. So first of all, we want to know which of these best defines your role. All right, we start seeing some answers here.
Yeah, we've got 20 out of 47. We'll let it keep ticking over for a little while longer, and I'll close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and I'm going to share the results now with the audience.
All right. Yeah, so we're seeing about 30% other. I'm curious, folks not from security. Anyone want to bring a mute, introduce yourself to the community?
Or you can pop any into the chat if you want to let us know what it is. Yeah, whichever works best. If you want to pop in there and chat, or feel free to unmute.
Curious if there are some finance people here. Marketing. Okay.
Awesome.
So I see a good divide between IT security, network security, network operations, and a few folks from the SOC team. All right, let's launch our next poll.
Poll 2 coming up.
Excellent. We have a little bit more participants here. So has your organization ever been the target of a DDoS attack? Okay.
Yeah, we'll let that keep going for a little while longer. Remember, at this time, you can still be popping your questions into the chat, and we'll be saving them for the end of the session. So at any time at all, you can just pop them in there. Okay, I am going to end polling in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I see some duplication here between the first two answers. So maybe we should combine them together. So just over 50% of you reported that there's actually has been an attack on your organization that didn't have an impact, which is good to hear. And some of you have never been targeted for a DDoS attack, 25%, and 25% are shy, prefer not to answer. Interesting results. Let's go to our next question.
Okay, last one.
Last one. So do you have a DDoS solution in place? All right, so that explains a lot of the, yes, we had an attack and we did not have an impact. So that's good to hear.
Oh, that's great to see.
Some folks are using appliance-based solution. Okay.
Oh, I've just realized actually, Alex, that the attendees won't be able to see these results just yet. We're seeing these populate, but because we're hosts, so I will end the polling in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so just about 50% of you responded, and out of those responded, 76% actually use Imperva. So that's great to hear. Thank you for joining to this live demonstration. But those of you who use a competing product or use on-prem solution, if you have any questions throughout this presentation, feel free to ask them or save them for later. We will have some time to answer the questions. Hopefully this will be useful to understand what we do, how we do it, and why we're confident that our solution is the leader of across the board. So I think we're good. We can get started. Thank you all for participating in this informal poll. And let's get started. All right, so this is an Imperva community webinar, so I will assume all of you have some knowledge and understanding of what we do as a company, but I will provide a brief overview as we don't sit on our hands, and we had some really cool updates and developments from the last couple of months. Imperva is recognized by virtually all analysts as a cybersecurity leader that secures data and application regardless where they reside. And we've been named a leader for the 3rd time this year in the Forrester Wave DDoS report. And we are a 7-time leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for web application firewalls. Now, all Imperva products feed into our Sonar platform. This is a recent strategic acquisition we made last year, which enables us to gain more value from each product individually, and allows us to do things like behavior analytics, automate and orchestrate responses to incidents, enrich insights, and most importantly, report on all this vast collection of eclectic data that is available online for years without going back to archives. Now, today, we are not going to talk about any of that, but we'll focus on only one aspect of our world-leading portfolio, protecting the edge against distributed denial of service attacks of any shape and size. So Imperva has built a global network of 45, soon to be 47 locations that are interconnected and help secure millions of applications and servers. So just to give you a scale, we block about 3.5 bad requests per minute. Now, over to my partner in crime, James Wall, to introduce Redwolf.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Very impressive what Imperva has done in the last few years. So a little bit about Redwolf. Thanks, Imperva, for having us. This is great, great cooperation and collaboration, which I think in the end will really benefit Imperva customers and other customers around the world. So just a little bit about Redwolf. We've been around since 2007. I think the key point in this slide deck is really that we're an independent organization. We're separate from Imperva, and we are partnered with Imperva, and as we are with other mitigation providers and platforms, but we're independent. So we're like the Switzerland. We're the entity that tests a lot of the vendors and the performance and load testing. We have been offering safe cloud DDoS attack traffic simulation. So we generate traffic that can target a URL or a host IP address. And so we've been doing that safely with not just our platform, but also our methodology that we provide. It's a mature enterprise proven solution. In that we have several large financial customers. We've got healthcare customers, academic. We do a lot of work with government. So mostly we do in mid to large enterprises that are really concerned about tightening up the security. So the methodology for testing and tuning, tuning is the key word that I wanted to talk to you guys about. You can test your stuff, but where we're working with Imperva kind of hand in glove is helping tune the production infrastructure. So you may have certain settings, you may have certain attack vectors you want to test, and you can tune this very fine granularity attack vectors to config files on platforms. We provide realistic multi-vector attacks, which is where things are going now. It used to be in the old days, you'd have one vector. Now, people trying to go in through the roof or through the window, through the front door, back door, slowly, fast. So we are able to stimulate all of these vectors. And there's an unprecedented real-time control. We can do all these variations and permutations in real time. There's 300 unique cloud-based cyber attacks that are built into the library in the portal. So if you want to try something like a Mirai or UDP flood, send flood, those are out of the box, and you essentially assign those to the botnet that we create, and away you go. It is a legal DDoS process that we offer to enterprises, since the DDoSing itself is a illegal activity unless you have permissions and so on. So we're tightly aligned with the major cloud providers like Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, and so on to make sure that this is all done legally and without any disruptive effect. So one of the common uses, and with you folks that are already using Imperva, is for NOC and SOC team drills. The platform obviously does a simulation, but now you can kind of document what happened during that test. What happened to the load balancer, had a memory error, a firewall. So by testing through the entire stack, you're able to also simulate what happened during that attack, and the NOC and the SOC team can kind of put together a little bit of a drill to react in case that happens again. And my last point is really around continuous controls validation, which kind of aligns with the fine tuning, because it's not like the old days where we had the hacker, everybody was like, once a year they do a test. Now you have hackers daily, the vectors are changing, the attack styles are changing, and being able to react to that and be able to continuously validate any security controls that we have is very important. So with that, I will turn it back over to Alex, and I'll be talking to you a little bit more as we go here. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks, James. So before we dive into the demo, let's spend a few minutes to talk about the DDoS landscape and what we see out there and the recent changes, ever since COVID, but even as late last year and this year. So according to the annual WISA report, 9% of surveyed companies reported experiencing a DDoS attack, and 1 in 4 from our own observations from 2020 are hit 10 times or even more. In another survey by ITIC, 91% of surveyed organizations experienced downtime due to a denial of service attack. And the estimated impact of 1 hour of downtime from that survey is $100,000. So I think at this point, you can probably calculate the risk factor of a DDoS attack that is not properly mitigated for your organization. You can see that a lot of top name companies have felt this business impact. No one likes their names to be all over the news with bad press associated with a DDoS attack. But the reality is DDoS attacks continue to be one of the fastest growing threat vectors in the attack landscape. And even the bigger names are not really safe from that kind of hit to their reputation. Now, for the past year, we find ourselves in the midst of the global pandemic, and people being forced to work from home and rely on remote access more and more to prevent the spread of COVID. Now with the vaccines, we're finally getting back to normal, but this has been a big issue for a lot of companies, where that disruptions to remote work is the perfect opportunity for hackers to increase the offense and cause a real impact to business continuity. So we're kind of moving away from a security incident, from perhaps a data leakage, or things like SQL injection, or some other threat vectors related to data, into a real business continuity issue that just simply doesn't allow the remote workers to connect to VPN, to pull emails, to get to the resources they need, to read meters, whatever that is that they need this remote access for. So if you're interested about additional insights And Trends of DDoS, we release a monthly update. It's called the Global DDoS Threat Landscape Report, and it's part of our Cyber Threat Index. And as you can see here, that the longest attack we've seen in February was just under a week of an attacker coming and going. It wasn't continuous. It was multiple bursts. It would go away for a few hours and come back, but it lasted almost a week from different vectors. You can also see that the largest web application attack had almost 143 requests per second. And bandwidth-wise, or volumetric attacks, were over 440 gigabits per second with 400 million packets per second, which is an astronomical number. These are these even at a fraction of that rate, that will overwhelm and completely shut down any router and network equipment that is not protected by a scrubbing center. Yes, so we see that recently the attacks have been emerging as the perfect opportunity to get into the ransom game. We see these trends started back in late August of 2020, and we've seen an influx of these attacks. Even as recently, I was yesterday on a call with a potential customer that had been hit by a DDoS attack. It was only a 10 gig attack, very simple attack, and that completely shut them down. And they had to contact their ISP on a provisional basis. And now we're working to get for emergency onboarding. And we get these calls almost every single day of customers that have been hit by a ransom sample attack, or by a small attack with a demand for payment, with a promise of a bigger attack if they don't pay. So we see that DDoS for ransom as the perfect opportunity to get into that ransom game. First of all, the nature of the attack, including the one that our potential customer had yesterday, was very simplistic. And you don't need to find any 0 days or find an unpatched server that you need to compromise. And the internet offers a wide variety of services developed by nation states or cyber crooks / entrepreneurs who simply rent out their infrastructure on low monthly plans with free trials and enterprise level support. And that makes it very easy for folks that even are not, cybersecurity experts or, guys that looking for exploits, to get into that offensive side. On the payment side, it's easy to stay anonymous by demanding payments in Bitcoins, right? You use tools to anonymize your source, where you're coming from, like anonymous proxies or Tor, and all of these tools that offer, some of them claim they don't keep any logs of their transactions. Again, to make sure the attack is simplistic, the payment is anonymous, where you're coming from is anonymous. That means the attribution of the attack to the actual offender is extremely challenging. It's really hard to see who is doing it and why. Now, the other side of it is the target acquisition side. It's actually also an easy task as well. You can Google all the information you need about your target, the networks they use, their DNS records, their historical records, where they're hosted, and more, and really impact their operations. So, I was joking with my team the other day. So that if you're aspiring crook with about $20 worth of Bitcoin, or even a PayPal account and a bit of Googling is all you need to start your kind of venture with potentially devastating DDoS for ransom campaign. And just to be clear, this is not an endorsement to do so. Now, after we covered the landscape and the attacks, let's briefly discuss the defenses needed to protect the access and availability of your applications, network, and the rest of the infrastructure. Now, Imperva DDoS mitigation solution provides a single stack approach where DDoS is mitigated alongside all other threats in all Imperva's points of presence. Remember those 45 to 47 points of presence or data centers or POPs, they all share a single stack architecture to mitigate against all the different threats, whether it's applications, DNS servers, file servers, along entire networks. We protect both against volumetric and application level attacks. Note that the network protection is also available as an on-demand service, and Imperva can automatically turn on and flip over the traffic when we actually sense there's a DDoS attack taking place on your router without you being on the net all the time. So you have options, and we cover everything. So with that, let me hand it back to James.
Thanks, Alex.
Talk about today's demo.
Yeah, not an endorsement for those people that want to start a new business, but it's the highway to the highway to hell. That one, is somebody from the FBI be knocking on your door. But anyway, so let's move on to give you a little bit of a background on what we did for this demo. And this is very interesting because now, as Alex mentioned, there's botnets that are required to do a DDoS attack. And one of the unique business value propositions that we offer here at Redwolf is the ability now to auto provision the botnet. Okay. Now this we have with, major cloud providers, the familiar suspects that we know, IBM in this example here, where we use their software cloud. We press this green button here, provision traffic generators. You get another interactive screen. Says where do you want them and how many do you want? In this case, we provisioned 200 of the traffic generator agents and 5 of the monitoring agents. And you see here a list of the IP addresses of the cloud monitors, and you see all the list of the cloud traffic generators. And you also see the red ones being the red VMs that we have in the IBM cloud in this example to become the attacking traffic generators. Okay, so this is an ability that we have within a couple hours. We can spin up this botnet automatically, and you can begin testing. Next slide, please. So once those agents are all in, I can take them and group them. If you see in the middle where it says traffic generator agents, group 1 of 2, traffic generator agents, group 2 of 2. So now I've grouped the agents that I've set up initially. So I have 50 in one group and 50 in another group. And if I start with the top one, I have 2 different volumetric attacks, a SYN flood and a UDP packet flood that are going to be run on that group of agents, and they're going to attack that target, which you see is the Imperva demo target. And then we also have down below the layer 7 HTTP get basic attack, and it's going to run on 50 of those agents and run against that target. Now, also what you'll see is on the right-hand side, you can customize all the vector parameters. So in this example screenshot here, you see the SYN flood, which is highlighted by the icons that you see around it. And on the right, you'll see the vector parameters that you can actually change. So now you can real-time parameter control. And this allows you, as I mentioned earlier, to tune and optimize your defenses very quickly. So if there's a particular nuance that you're trying to test, you can change it very, GUI driven. You can drag and drop your different attack vectors, including the latest real browser attacks from the left panel where it's just the library and onto the canvas. And it's very easy to create a test. So this is the visual test design capability in the Redwolf portal. And this is how we have set up the testing for the Imperva demo today. Here's examples of some of the DDoS test vectors. So basically everything known to man. If it's not identified, if it's something still in the wild, we will look at it, and if it makes sense, we will probably add it into the library as we go, as we did with Mirai. Within about a week of it being released in the wild, we were able to tame it and put a clean version into the Redwolf portal, and people can now test on Mirai right away. Go ahead and. So this is a poster that we have provided to people that are interested. And this really outlines the breadth of the Redwolf capability in the space. We have a good amount of knowledge here after doing it for so long in production environments primarily. So to top layer, your common attack scenarios. What if a packet flood happened? What if a HTTP attack happened? And you have attack variations, how intensive they are. You have the common defense technologies. And this is actually part of a Attack Wars game that we have a card deck that you can actually have a little drill that people can do in terms of, here, I'm going to try this volumetric attack with this amount of intensity. You try and defend me with Imperva. So we use this as an educational sort of tool, and it is available to you. Just send us a note, and I'll get that off to you.
Download now.
Can we download it on this session? I'm not sure if we can or not. But if you can't download it, we'll send it to you.
We'll share it with the community.
Yeah, I think so. All right.
Thanks, James. I'm really excited about today's demo. I did my prayers. I prayers to the demo gods that today's everything is gonna work out well. So let me walk you through what you're going to see in the next 25 minutes or so. So first of all, we have discussed Imperva's global single stack network that has 6 terabits capacity to take any attack of any size. The servers we're going to be DDoSing today are tiny hosts spun up in AWS, US East 2 region. Why did we choose AWS? Because it's easy to spin up a server there, and B, a lot of our customers are actually moving infrastructure in AWS or have already moved into AWS. So we are going to have our servers protected by the entire Imperva network. The attackers that we have already deployed that are powered by the Redwolf platform are globally distributed, and they're going to try and take down my servers that are hosted in this one region of AWS. So you can see all these long lines coming from everywhere using the internet infrastructure to try and knock down my service. This is the best illustration of a denial of service attack. All of these concentrated trying to knock offline your VPN server, your file server, your web server, whatever it is that you use to communicate with your customers. So how does that look after Imperva is deployed? You will see that during the automatic mitigation, the traffic does not travel actually across the ocean to my service, but is actually being mitigated locally by the closest POP. So note the lines are much shorter because we're able to attract that traffic to the nearest point of presence, to the nearest Imperva data center, and we leverage the entire Imperva network to observe and mitigate the attack. So here's what we're going to show you today. We will take you through the onboarding of both a web server asset and SFTP file sharing service. Next, we're going to demonstrate a real-life bot simulation attack with changing vectors without ever touching the policy configuration or adjusting our policies. We're using the default policies when those servers were spun up. Without any changes. So really sign up, spin up, make the changes and go. Lastly, we're going to show you, the real-time analytics of those attacks and the real-time mitigation of the attack traffic without any negative impact on the client or the server. So this is really important because when there's an attack and mitigation taking place, but there's an impact on the user, the attack is somewhat successful because you impede or degrade the performance of your application or impede the user experience by presenting, hold time or wait time or captchas or things that people hate, quite honestly. So we're going to show how we mitigate without actually introducing any of those detractors. And finally, we're going to examine the attack through our analytics engine that really helps lift the figurative smokescreen of volumetric DDoS attack. Because as sometimes the attacks don't have an effect, an immediate effect to bring down your business, but they serve more of a distraction from a real sneaky attack that goes behind the scenes. and the DDoS attack keeps the IT personnel or security people or network operations people preoccupied with dealing with mitigating, with adjusting policies, while the real attack actually sneaks by and goes through. So we're gonna show you all that. So let me stop sharing the slide deck. Let me move this out of the way. Logging to my console. So as I mentioned, we're going to first start with an onboarding of an asset. You'll see it only takes a few minutes, and I'm going to walk you through that in just a second. So I'm going to go here into application and to my websites, and I'm going to add a website to my protected list. Before I do that, the website looks like this. So it's a simple financial services application, Imperva Saving Bank and Trust that you can log in. It's a dynamic application. You can check out your checking account, your high yield savings account. You can transfer money here from one account to another. Say, let's transfer from savings to checking. $5,000. Boom, transfer is successful. Everything looks great. So let's onboard such an application to my website. I'm going to call www.demo.net, and I'm going to hit here add a website. So what's going to happen now is that Imperva uses our global infrastructure is going to discover where is that web server hosted. The www.impvdemo.net. I'm going to figure out what's the IP, who's the hosting provider, does it use HTTP or HTTPS, and we'll configure our services. So once it's done with the configuration, which you saw takes less than a minute, it will give me the additional instructions now I need to do to fully onboard. So from a Imperva perspective, this site has already on the service and ready to accept traffic. All you need to do is go to your DNS server and make those changes to your A records and to your CNAME to point at Imperva server. So at this point, after you complete these steps, this site is fully onboarded. What I'm going to do now is just show you real quick how we can create a custom rule using our platform. And there's a lot of capabilities here in this rule. I'm just going to give you a simple example of a rule that that presents a CAPTCHA to suspend suspected bots at my login page. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look for a client type that is not equals a browser. And I'm going to add it to my editor here. I can actually type all of the thing by hand or copy it from a script or use an API. But you have this very nifty, easy to use builder to use if you're not comfortable scripting or just want to validate what you're doing. So like I said, we want to make sure that client type is not browser and my URL is login, which builds this rule. And my rule action, I can do maybe I want to be certain I don't want to necessarily block that. Maybe I just want to, in this specific scenario where I know it's not a browser and they're targeting my login page, I want to present a CAPTCHA. That's it. That's all it takes to build this rule. So I'm going to call it login protect from bad, from any bots. From bots, it's enabled. I can make it the default rule, and it's applied to my newly onboarded website. Okay, so since I haven't done the DNS changes to my newly onboarded website, I'm going to use the website that I previously onboarded, the web impvdemo.net, as I showed you in the demo description. And what I'm going to do now is going to transition to real-time dashboard that shows me the interactions as they take place in real time. So as I browse here or refresh here, you should see the counters here flowing. So what I'm going to do now, actually, is I'm going to launch my attack. I provisioned the agents, and I'm going to now to my designer, my test designer, and I'm going to launch my first attack. Okay, so this is my HTTP and volumetric level attack that is targeting my web Imperva demo.net. I'm going to launch this attack. The restart button, and I'm going to transition here to my UI, and then we should start seeing the attack coming in very quickly. So we see the initial requests coming in, they go through, and very quickly the system, as you can see, pretty much immediately starts blocking those requests. So the initial requests went through because they were not hitting the rate that we defined as a DDoS attack. But then as we see those requests now trending upwards of 2,000 requests per second, we started blocking them. Now, let me see that my website's still working here. Yep, my experience was not impeded. Actually, let me do something else. I'm gonna open up here my Firefox, and I'm going to do it in incognito mode. And I'm going to launch the same website. And as you can see, it launched without any CAPTCHA, same login page, everything exactly as it was, only now from a incognito mode Firefox. So no cookies, nothing is being used. You can see that I'm able to browse it. I'm able to access it. I'm able to, let's send back those $5,000, and everything works as we expected very quickly, no effect. Even though it's one server without redundancy, everything is looking great. As you can see here, this attack is still ongoing and being mitigated. Now, I'm going to switch real quick back to the Redwolf platform because we have another component to this test, which is the volumetric component, right? So right now we're sending UDP packet flood and also TCP SYN flood. Here we're seeing the application layer 7 attack, right? So let me show you where we can actually see those attacks, right? So I'm going to go here to WAF and my dashboards. And you can see that if I show you the networking in real time, we can actually see those attacks taking place. Yeah, so you can see that right now we are sending almost half a gig of bad traffic that is being mitigated. This is done in real time, and almost 250,000 packets per second. Okay, so this is against my poor website, but as you can see, there are no impact on performance. There's no impact on the server stability, no detracting CAPTCHAs, etc. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop this attack against my web server, and I'm going to show you how we onboard a non-web application. Back to Imperva UI, and I'm going to click here on the edge. So the edge gives us functionality and protection against full networks or individual IPs or DNS server, anything that is infrastructure, everything that is critically important for the business operation is going to be found here under the edge, as we discussed, our single stack POPs, our single stack UI, everything is done through here. So I'm going to go here to the IP protection, and I'm going to go here to settings. And I already have 2 servers pre-built, but let me show you how you bring in another server. So at the protected IP, we have a couple of options here. We have a simple TCP proxy, which really what it does is just used for TCP, very simple to set up. And we have more advanced options. If you need some tunneling, if you need to use non-TCP protocols like UDP, SIP, VPN, we have other options as well. So let's take a look at the Jerry tunnel option here. And let's create our server. Let's call it protected FTP. Let's give it an IP address, just a random IP. How much traffic I'm expecting for that particular IP? Say, 100 meg. And let's do it 50-50 TCP and 50 UDP. That's it. At this point, I'm going to hit save. And what the system does, it provisions a new IP address. This new IP address is Imperva IP address that is available out there. It becomes your new public IP address. And we have detailed instructions how to set it up. And we have examples for Juniper, we have examples for a Cisco router, we have examples for an Ubuntu server. Everything you need to do to protect your origin server and make sure that the traffic from the client arrives, while the traffic that is, blasting your server and trying to knock it offline gets blocked by the Imperva infrastructure. There's even a video available for this. So I'm not going to set up the Jerry tunnel right now. I'm going to use one of the protected SFTP server, as I mentioned. And I'm going to go to dashboard here just to show you the real-time information for my protected IP. As you can see right now, it's fairly quiet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up a WinSCP and start uploading a file. So this is a big file, and we're going to start uploading it. Put it in a bad spot. Anyway, if I show the screen, you can see that very quickly, and again, from the entire infrastructure of Imperva, we are seeing the traffic as it goes through our servers. Let's note here the speed is about 1 megabyte per second, probably related to my Wi-Fi, but that is the baseline speed. So about 900 up to 1 meg of traffic going in right now. What I also want to show you is an output of an external tool called Catchpoint, which is what we use to test the performance from agents all around the world against the servers. So what I did here is I'm running a ping test from London, Singapore, Washington, DC, Los Angeles, Frankfurt to my IP. And I ran it a little bit earlier, and you can see the baseline here is about just under 5 milliseconds worldwide. So Frankfurt, London, Los Angeles, Singapore, Washington, DC. You can see that the performance here in peacetime, if you will, is very, very quick, right? This is all fun. Let's now turn on the big guns. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open up my other test that we pre-built. And this one starts off as SSDP and TCP SYN flood using the agents we provisioned to attack my SFTP server. So let's just start the test. And again, I'm praying to my gods of demo that everything is going to work. It takes for the UI a second here, but you can see that packets per second already shot up, and we're seeing 450 gigs of traffic coming in, 800 gigs of, megs of traffic coming in from the Redwolf botnet that is now trying to attack my server, right? So you can see that only fraction of my traffic is going through. When I look at my performance here, I'm still seeing pretty similar numbers, right? 800, 900 kilobytes per second. So that didn't really affect my transfer all that much. Because we're doing SYN flood at this time, let me actually stop this transfer And let's actually not close it, but let's close the connection. Because one of the things that Simfla does is saturate the connections. So what we're going to do is try to open a new TCP session with my server. And you can see that it opened up just as quick as the first time, and I can continue uploading my file without any issues, right? This is all the while the attack is ongoing. So let's change it up a little bit. We did promise you a multi-vector attack. So what I'm going to do now, and this is the beauty of the Redwolf tool, is for me to change the attack, all I need to do is pick from this list of protocols and put it here and drag a line for my agents that I want to attack my target. And that is it. This changes the attack vectors. It changes the combination of how it's being targeted, etc. Everything is done on the fly. Now you can see that some changes here. There's a little bit dip in bandwidth, and it picks right back up as it adjusts the attacks. Let's see that our transfer is still ongoing. Yep, no impact whatsoever. Okay, so we can stop the attack right now, and let me show you what it is from the SOC perspective, or from a user perspective, or from an analyst perspective, what it takes to analyze the attack. So I'm going to go back to my UI. Oh, actually, you know what? I did forget one thing. So let me relaunch the attack right back on. I did forget one thing to show you, which is also exciting. Let's see that it's still going. Yep. And we forgot to show you catch points. We did see a very good performance before the attack. Let me see that it still remains this way. It takes a few seconds for the test to complete. And you can see I used the same agents, 1:48 p.m. UTC time, and you can see that the performance is exactly as it was when we did the baseline test. This one's a little bit slower, but still 30 milliseconds, right, from Singapore. The numbers didn't change that dramatically. Yeah, so that's it. Let's close it off. And let me show you what it looks like from the analyst perspective. So I'm going to go back to our Imperva dashboard, and I'm going to go to the applications. And what analysts use the most at Imperva, and as I mentioned, lifting up the smoke screen of the attacks, is what we call attack analytics. Now, attack analytics is something that crunches up the numbers, and you usually go back, in the morning to see what happened over the past, 24 hours, or if you're not reviewing this every 24 hours, what happened last 7 days or last 30 days. And you can see that bird's eye view, everything that happened to my environment, all my protected servers, from a single pane of glass, aggregated across the board, and and prioritized with the things I need to focus next. And we're going to review some of those critical incidents. I'm looking at the time here. We have about 10 minutes. We're going to spend probably 3 minutes at this, and we're going to leave some time for questions and answers. So as I mentioned, we have the entire environment. We have our attacks based on severity, including the volumetric attacks displayed here. Also, 11 highlights show that similar incidents were identified across our customer base. Means some of the attacks we've seen those vectors or those agents or those users or the computers attacking other Imperva clients, which is important because once we see something distributed, we can quickly apply our intelligence and mitigate it before the attack begins. So we heavily rely on that reputation services that we've created. So before I go to incidents, let me show you one thing here, and this is our insight. As you saw from this onboarding demonstration, the critical step here is to change the DNS record to point them at Imperva service. So the DNS doesn't resolve to your origin IP, but reserves to an Imperva IP. So we could take in the traffic and mitigate and block all the volumetric and all the bad stuff, take it out of there. One thing that we do with insights is to show you some common misconfigurations that sometimes we forget to do. And in this case, I actually did forget to do it. I left my origin server exposed. I'm not blocking traffic that will target my server that is exposed on the internet, that origin connections are still available. And somebody can look at historical DNS records. Even if I change my current records, they can look at the historical records and show that my historical value and target my server. So we bubble up these incidents, we bubble up these insights, and this is just one example for things for you to better protect yourself and better cover yourself. Think of it as a built-in automated health check. So let's go back to incidents. Let's click here on the critical incident, and we can see that majority of our critical incidents are actually related to DDoS attacks. We have a bunch of volumetric DDoS attacks and application level attacks. And let's start with the application level attack here that took place about 2 weeks ago. We see the high level information, where it was coming from, what was targeted, when the event started, when the event ended. And if we want to zoom in, we can actually double click this event. So instead of reviewing 35,000 events, we only look at this one, right? We can, everything is condensed for us, everything is compiled. All the important information that we need to present to somebody are available to us right here. So which hosts were attacked, and if it's a multi-host, it will be all here. If it's multiple URL, they're gonna populate here. If they're coming from multiple places, and whether or not we already seen them and we have IP reputation based on them, it's going to show up here. How did the attack took place? As you saw, it was almost a day-long attack. So the attacker, attacked a little bit, came back, attacked a little bit more, came back again, and you can see that all of these requests were blocked. So that gives you confidence that nothing was compromised. And DDoS obviously is the easy example. But this applies to anything that is web application firewall or any other Imperva product that feed into this platform. So let me go back and also show you the other type of attack, the volumetric one. And you can see again, a quick summary here, how long the attack lasted, which protocol been used, how much passed and how much was blocked. And actually, here's something's covering here my screen. I can dive much deeper into this attack, see exactly what was happening and when. So my network traffic attack analysis is available here, and you can see which IPs were targeted, where the attack was coming from, how the attack looked like from volumetric perspective, which Imperva POPs were mitigating it. So you can see it was pretty distributed, from all over the globe, taking in traffic from the Redwolf platform, and that traffic was blocked. And we can also show the traffic type, so you can compare it with what you've been sending if you're using the Redwolf platform to what Imperva has been scrubbing, and you can see the differences here on bandwidth and packets per second. So you can see here things like, it started ICMP, SSDP, and SYNFlood, and then we added UDP and other protocols into the mix. And again, we did not have to change any of the security policies. Everything is automated, everything is default set, and no impact to the customer. So if you need protection in minutes, you're under attack today, we have the ability to help you. So that concludes this demo portion. And we have about 5 minutes for Q&A. I was not looking at Sorry.
The demo gods were with you today, Alex. Great job.
Demo gods.
Great job. Great job.
Yeah, that was great, Alex. Thank you so much. We have quite a shy audience today. I've received some questions by direct message, so I'll just make my way through those. First of all, we did have a public question that was, are we legally protected in case we run DDoS against competition's technology with customer consent from being sued by that competing vendor?
Let me take that one, Alex. So when you're launching the Redwolf attack, the question is, can we just launch it against a competitor? The answer is no. I mean, really, that's a part of our contract is, you know, the license for Redwolf is for your company. So if you're Imperva Savings and Trust Bank, then it stays in that domain. To test other people is not really legal. Okay, so just to make that clear. So that would be a grounds for termination of the Redwolf license. Now, the other piece of it is that people do use it for various testing tools. You know, in a bake-off, for example, you may have a library of attacks you want to use with different vendors. So some of these are legal. So, but in general, no.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, James. The other question is, does your solution use a third-party scrubbing hardware?
Yeah, good question. Actually, it comes up a lot. No, we have our own developed, our entire POP scrubbing infrastructure is developed by Imperva, both the software and the hardware that we use. We are right now in the process of upgrading to our third generation hardware that is 4x the capacity and the scrubbing ability, including the global ACL that we're now rolling out. So no, we don't use any third-party scrubbing for our mitigation.
Super. Do we have an on-site support team?
Of course. Follow the sun. We have multiple locations. SOC and support are just a phone call away to help you out.
Awesome. Also community. We can ask questions
Yes,
on community as well.
Of course.
Okay. In the event of a DDoS attack or a DOS or a DDoS attack, what actions need to be taken by an Imperva customer to be notified of an attack while it is occurring? And are there any additional actions that they should take to protect themselves?
Yeah, good question. So the simple answer is you don't need to do anything to protect yourself when you're under a DDoS attack, because we detect it, we mitigate it, the policy is already in place. We didn't talk about our automation where we automatically keep learning the profile and adjust the policies to mitigate the changing attacks and the changing normal traffic, the baseline traffic that we see out there. So our SOC team are constantly, they can review those policies and review the suggestions, but by large, the automation takes care of the changes that we see in the traffic for customers and mitigate the attacks automatically. All the notifications are available from, we can integrate with like PagerDuty, obviously email, API, but also we are rolling out right now these days to better customers our new notification center with much more granularity and the things that you can configure, which notifications to receive, which teams should receive them, etc. So until now, it was kind of more all or nothing, but we are coming up with this functionality in the next couple of weeks for all of our customers to participate in the notification center to receive DDoS notifications and others much more granularly. And I see we're at the top of the hour.
Yeah, we do have one more question, but I can put that on community unless you think you have one more minute, maybe.
Sure.
Right, we'll go for it for one more minute.
Of course.
Some higher layer attacks use compression and encryption protocols such as SSL to tunnel HTTPS attacks against the server. Can you protect me from those?
Yeah, of course. We protect all the protocols. We went through the onboarding process, but part of that onboarding process is to understand what protocols the servers support. And if we detect SSL, you can either upload your SSL certificate or we can generate one for you. So absolutely, HTTP, HTTPS, encrypted, compressed, we cover it all.
Okay, right. I'm going to hit a couple more just real quick. Sorry. Do you recommend adding the bot that is doing the DDoS to bad bots list?
For testing, the testing bots, I'm not clear about the question.
Do you recommend adding the bot that is doing the DDoS to bad bots list? I'm not sure if it's testing.
In a real DDoS attack.
In a real attack.
Yeah, in a real DDoS attack, well, it depends. We rely heavily on automation. Some of these bots will obviously end up being in the bad bot list. As we see them target multiple clients, we will mitigate other clients before they even start targeting them. So, yes.
Okay, very last one for James, and then I'm going to stop. Does Redwolf provide services along with testing?
Yes, we do. And we also have a partner community, a global partner community that we provide services. We have partners are good. And some of them are partners are joint Imperva partners and Redwolf partners. So that's a good place to go to hit it all. But in general, we talk about services. Let me just address that real quick. So if someone wants to do like a test, you can actually just for under $10,000, buy the portal and get the portal for a month and test it and do it yourself. So there's a do-it-yourself model called self-serve testing. You have to take some training. Once you're certified, you can run the test yourself. The next level up is to have engaged with Redwolf directly, and we can run the test for you. And this is typically in a regulated industry end user customer where they have a requirement to have some sort of auditing of their DDoS capability. So we generate a nice 200-page report. It's a full-on engagement, and really is used as a tool to go back and fine tune the infrastructure and come back and test again. That's around the $25K range US dollars. And then if you want to go right to continuous controls testing, which is set it up so it's automated to continuously test the devices that you have out there, and that could be any kind of device, but you can set it up so there's an automation engine that's open architecture and event-driven database in the back end that you can set it up to do that. So, from a services perspective, there's lots of options. So we're happy to engage.
That's great. Thanks so much. And this session has been recorded and will be posted on community. So James, we'll maybe put some of your details and your website there so that people can reach out to you if they want to hear some more information. And any questions that we didn't get to, I think we got them all, but I'll double check that. Anything we didn't get to, we'll post on the community as well. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you to James and Alex. It's been so interesting. Really appreciate it. And everybody keep an eye on the events page on community as well to see what we've got coming up next. Thanks so much.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.